And welcome to HSGameTime Live Playoff Edition. We've got the faces on the boards. Coach Broach, Robert Weber, Wyatt Moore, Dennis Gregovich, and Lorenzo Cabrera. Scores, highlights, the faces. We got everything ready to go to bring you up to speed. We even have the brackets already filled out for you so you can see who's advancing out of the first round of the CIF Southern Section playoffs. Let's start in the Inland Division and some heavyweights going at it in round one. Let's start with Great Oak taking on Norco. Angel, let's roll those highlights from Norco High School, and we will get right to it as Great Oak, one of the teams from the Southwestern League, taking on another team from the Big 8 League. And we love it when the Big 8 goes head-to-head with the Southwestern League. So we'll see who comes out on top here. Now, Norco raced out to a big lead, but Great Oak trying to chip away at that. Laquan Williams to Raekwon Yates, and then it's Nick Fisher. Now, Vinny Fazio on the blitz said Nick Fisher, man, he is so good. Nick Fisher goes in for the touchdown, but Norco was up 36-13 at that point. Now to the third quarter, it's Corey Young. He went for more than 400 yards against Santiago last week. Big run there, 42 yards, and that would set up this. He did the work, time to get paid. 4-yard touchdown run, 43-13. Norco up by 30. Game over, right? Well, not yet. Laquan Williams, the pass behind the line of scrimmage to Brandon Presley, who goes down to Yates for 34 yards. And then it's Williams going 14 yards to Presley. The two-point conversion was no good, but Norco led 43-21. Great Oak going for the onside kick, and they would recover. But Laquan Williams on the ensuing drive, picked off by Norco's Brandon Mills, comes flying in there and plucks that ball right out of the air, but Norco would not score on their ensuing offensive drive. Now to the fourth quarter, it's Williams, 15 yards to Andrew Molinar. The PAT, no good, so it was 43-27, so the Wolfpack inching closer. Now it's Alec Burr for Norco. Get in there! Norco leading 49-27. Great Oak fighting to the finish. Williams, though, picked off by Jared Emanuel, and that is a pick six. Norco goes on to win by a final score of 56-27. So a great all-local matchup in the Inland Division, and we had another one at Eisenhower. The upstart Eagles taking on Santiago. We went all access with the Sharks last week, and they were licking their wounds following a tough loss to Norco. How would Santiago respond against a very good Eisenhower team who won a share of the Citrus Belt League title just last week? All right, Angel, let's roll those highlights from Eisenhower. Kyle Glazer will be here later to break down this game. Scoreless first quarter. Santiago's second drive, 4th and 6. They go for it. Barnett sacked by Tyshawn McCune. And then later, scoreless in the second, Santiago finally scores. Isaiah Manley going in for the touchdown. 7-zip nearing halftime. Ike has the ball. Sharks muff the punt on the return. Marquand Harris rolls out, hits Terry Clarendon for a 28-yard gain, and then it's Harris scoring on the keeper on the ensuing drive, so that tied the game at 7. And then Barnett gets one more crack at it before halftime, completes 3 long passes, this one to Brad Duran for the touchdown, and Santiago led 14-7 at the half. Third quarter now, same score, Barnett to Jordan Huffman for the touchdown, 21-7 at that point, and Santiago goes on to the victory by a final score of 35-14. And it looked like some rain on that lens, so maybe some rain up there in the Rialto area. So Santiago moving on, Norco moving on. Centennial taking on Etiwanda. What would the Huskies do? Could they also move on in the first round? Angel, let's go to those highlights from Centennial High School. The Huskies taking on Etiwanda. And early in this one, that's beats by Trey. Trey Watson going in for the touchdown. 7-zip Centennial still in the first quarter. Etiwanda quarterback Darren Ratliff pass intended for Jay McKillen, but it's tipped in the air and lands right in the hands of Centennial's Manu Namora. And then later, first play from scrimmage, Robert Weber, the quarterback. And we got his face right here on the backdrop. 20 yards to Barry Ware, 14-zip Centennial leading at this point. And then still in the first quarter, Weber going 20 yards to Grayson Bankhead. Nice catch there, and that would set up this. Bankhead catching that touchdown pass, 21-zip Centennial at that point. They go on to roll past Etiwanda, final score of 56 22-23. All right, Great Oak, Santiago, Centennial's moving on. Could Chaparral join the bunch? The Pumas going up against Chino Hills. Chino Hills likes to score. They play fast. The Pumas more strong on the defensive side of the ball, keep the game low scoring. So who would prevail? Angel, let's go down there to Chaparral High School down in Temecula. Jeff Parenti on the scene for this one. And a great game for the Pumas because they would come back in a big way. Let's go to the highlights. That was Chino Hills scoring there. They led 7-0 from that Daniel Martinez touchdown. But here come the Pumas. Austin Reza, the quarterback, to Franklin Shear, 8 yards. That made it 28-14. Chaparral trailed at the half, but they come back big time in the second half. Chaparral wins 31-28, the final score. So Chaparral is also moving on. All right, now let's go to the Inland Division scoreboard from the first round of the playoffs and show you the Inland Division scores, and then we'll bring you the brackets to show you who will be playing who next Friday in the second round. So let's go to the scoreboard. Vista Murrieta taking care of Los Osos, 57-14. So the Broncos had no problem. Charter Oak defeating Yucaipa by 20, 53-33. Rancho Cucamonga taking care of Redlands East Valley, 48-7. And also from the inland, Norco, you just saw the highlights, beating Great Oak, 56-27. The Cougars raced out to the big lead and held on. Upland over South Hills, 21-14. And we also had the Santiago score and the highlights, 35-14 over Eisenhower. So the Sharks are moving on, defeating the CBL champion. And Chaparral, 31-28 over Chino Hills. All right, Chris Erickley standing by. But first, let's get to those Inland Division brackets. So based on the scores and the highlights that we just saw, here are the matchups for next Friday in the second round. We've got Vista Murrieta taking on Charter Oak, Rancho Cucamonga taking on Norco, Upland and Santiago, and Chaparral taking on Centennial. That will be a great game next Friday. So that is the Inland Division for you folks next Friday. All right, now we're moving on to the Central Division. Chris Erickley's brought back highlights as well as a Heritage helmet.
H-Town helmet. Let's throw a quick shout out to the Palmer family coming up big. They come up big with highlights every week.
They really do.
But this week, they're coming up real big with highlights. They may bring us some highlights. I was out there, though. And, of course, the H-Town helmet. We're representing, flying the H-Town colors.
And I'm sure they're watching right now.
I'm sure they're watching right now. Yeah, I saw right before halftime, I was out at Tockwitz first, the Tockwitz-Burroughs game. I saw at halftime it was 7-7, Heritage Arlington in a real barn burner. So I had to put it into hyperspeed, get over there to Heritage H-Town. Let's roll out there on Angelito. Heritage reworking things. Coach Broach and the fellas rallying the troops for the second half. What do you know? They're bread and butter. Lima High, he for the power running game. No mercy when he's plugging down the field. First down. Then his partner in crime, Sione Taki, finishing the drive with the 30-yard touchdown run. H-Town back on top, 14-7 mid-third quarter. Things get a little wild here. Check this out. The interception for Heritage.
Who is
Matt
that?
Palmer not interested in going down, though. He goes with the lateral to Hefo. Dangerous mid-third quarter, and he's pulling out the circus tricks right here. But Hefo shakes about half of the Arlington team on his way to a bonus 20 yards, moving his way down the field. Flip the sides of the field for the switch to the fourth quarter. Patriots cash in. Virgil 2.0. Brett Virgil with the 21-7 lead for the Patriots. Then back to the Hefo Power Run Clinic. Plenty of ice packs, I think, for the Arlington defense tonight after all the abuse they were taking. No score on this one. Hefo would fumble it on his next run, but Matt Palmer, his third INT of the evening, he'd be a little roughed up, but he would walk off the field just fine. Those anyone born in Hawaii, they're not going to stay down for long, Pep, right?
Mr. Palmer, the father,
Yes.
he's watching right now. He said, "Good job."
Oh, very good. Well, we had his son in there. He was worried at halftime that I missed one of his son's interceptions, but
We made up for it. We had some good stuff.
Two of his son's interceptions right there. We had that little circus play. I mean, mid-third quarter and you're going lateral. That's
how they do it in H-Town.
Right? That's how they do it in H-Town.
How they draw it up.
21-7 the victory for H-Town. They will hit the road next week to La Quinta, the DVL champs. Pep, I know you're not a big fan of the DVL, so I know you're going H-Town all the way when they hit the road down the I-10 over to La Quinta next week.
Can we be honest? Like, I called the Elsinore win against Palm Desert. We'll get to that score.
I called that as well.
Yeah, I don't see any scenario where La Quinta even hangs with Heritage. Gotta be honest.
I was shocked. Usually they're letting the ball fly to Palmer and Reggie, number 4. What's his last name? Mr. Circus Catch.
Who was that? Reggie Murphy? Does that sound right?
I think it is. Usually Virgil's letting it fly to those guys all night long. Tonight, more conservative in the second half with the power running game. We'll see if next week when they go out to Blackhawk City out there, La Quinta, if they air it out a little bit more. But La Quinta better take a long look at the HEFO tape because you're going to need a few guys to bring that guy down. He's a machine.
Heavy dose of HEFO. All right, Chris, you'll be back a little bit later with those Tockwitz Burrows highlights.
Yes, Burrows.
All right, let's keep it in the Central Division, Angel. Let's take them out to Summit, taking on Riverside Poly, also from the Central Division tonight. And they were playing at Ramona Stadium, the home game for the Bears. And Riverside Poly going 8-2 during the regular season. Summit, the number 1 seed last year, but they lost in the first round. Hey, that's Jake Marisnik, Major League Baseball player. We'll hear from him in the Monday morning pep rally, so check that out. First quarter, Chandler Drakeslin to Akili Russ, like a boss, goes in for the touchdown there. 7-zip Poly on the 78-yard touchdown. And that's Johnny Football. We're going to have Johnny Football in the Monday morning rally, too. On the ensuing kickoff, Summit's Eric Brown hoping to bust something up the middle, but there is the fumble, and the Riverside Poly Bears recover. And they are in business. Bears take over. Devontre Hale, house call. 13-0. Bears on top in the opening frame. Now it's Summit with the ball, but here comes some of that Riverside Poly defense. Evan Telliard coming up with the interception here, and also the nice return down the sideline across midfield for Poly. Later, how about some more Poly D? Ben Tualea brings down the quarterback, corrals him for the sack. And then more from that Poly D. Quentin Johnson patrolling the secondary, juggles his ball, but comes down with INT. And Johnson has the Bears in business once again, deep in Summit territory. And Poly turns that into points. David Samuelu, get in there. Touchdown for Poly. And they go on to roll past Summit, 57-26, the final score. All right, now we've got back here live in the studio, Colton taking on the Rancho Verde, the Mustangs, the number 1 seed in the Central Division. Our guy, Javier Cabrera, giving me the shot sheet hot off the press, right, Ja? Just finished these highlights. There he is. Very proud. And we've also got some good Moreno Valley Carter highlights coming up. But first, let's check out the Rancho Verde in action. Angel, you know what to do. There you go. Here come the Yellow Jackets. Could the Yellow Jackets sting the top seed, Rancho Verde? Early in the first quarter, though, first we got to let the Mustangs roll out, right? We got to let them run out. It's their home field. Colton takes the lead. 3-zip on the field goal. So the Yellow Jackets in control. Could they roll to victory? We'll have to find out. Keyshawn Slaughter returns the kick here for a touchdown. Ja! There he is. Ja's got him. 7-3. The Rancho Verde takes the lead, and they would pretty much not look back after this one. Still in the opening frame, Chris Mailo talking to his quarterback, Gil Martinez. Getting the calls from Coach Quentin Hemphill. Coming up big time for the Rancho Verde. He's a good friend of mine on Twitter, and he can also pick off a pass. And he's going to return this for a touchdown. Good job, Ja. You got that on camera. I'm sure Quentin's happy about that. 14-3, Mustangs on top of this one. Well, Colton had trouble with that Mustang defense all night long. Here comes more from the Rancho Verde's Department of Defense. And forcing the fumble, but Colton would recover there. Later in the opening frame, Sharon Jones connects with Kevon Himes for some yards here. It was still 14-3 Mustangs at that point. And then Jones 4th and 13. Connects on the touchdown. That made 21-3. And the Rancho Verde goes on to win by a final score of 52-3. So, John, let me get this straight. So, Colton goes up 3-0. Looked like the Yellow Jackets were going to sting Rancho Verde.
No way.
And then they rolled off 52 in a row. So, that's what the Mustangs do. And Quentin Hemphill, the big pick 6. And I'm glad you got that on camera. All right. Now let's go through the Central Division scores, get you all caught up to speed, and then we'll break out the brackets and let you know who's playing next Friday. Let's roll that Central Division scoreboard. There it is, 52-3. Brought to you by Ja Rule over here. Elsinore, 55-40. I called it. Don't put a lot of stock in the Desert Valley League. Pope knows what I'm talking about. 55-40, Elsinore beating Palm Deserts. Also tonight, Kaiser. Oh, man, I picked Canyon Springs. Can I be honest? I'm just being honest. Kaiser, 49-0 against Canyon Springs. The Cougars wanted me to pick them. What was I supposed to do? So I picked them, but they lost. 49-0 to Kaiser. And also in the Central Division, Ja, what are you doing over there?
Thinking about the Killers.
Paloma Valley beating Chino 49-14. Coach Merida, if you're watching tonight, we'd love to get some highlights for the Saturday show. You just saw the highlights. Pauley beating Summit 57-26. Bears rolled out to an early lead and never looked back. Palm Springs defeating Colony 36-21. Is that backwards? Oh, that's backwards. So Colony beat Palm Springs 36-21. So Colony, go ahead to the next one, John. Colony a winner in that one. We'll show you in the brackets what it looks like. Heritage defeating Arlington 21-7 as it was tied 7-7, but the Patriots pulled away in the second half. And then any more Central Division scores from tonight? No, not Sanji. Sanji will be the next one, Eastern Division. All right, back here live in the studio. So those are the highlights. Those are the scores. Now let's show you the brackets for the following week. This will be the second round of the Central Division playoffs. All right, Angel, let's roll those brackets right now. Rancho Verde taking on Elsinore. I believe that's a rematch from earlier this season. Kaiser against Paloma Valley. That'll be a great game. Riverside Poly taking on Colony, and La Quinta taking on Heritage. So some great matchups there in the Central Division, and some all local matchups as well. So very interesting next Friday. All right, back here live in the studio. Now we go to the Eastern Division. And yes, Ja, we will get to San Gorgonio in just a little bit. But first, we want to start with the reigning Eastern Division champions, Citrus Hill, taking on Ramona. Head coach Damon Dustin for the Rams, returning to the school where he used to coach at. And for a while, early on, Ramona actually was hanging with Citrus Hill. Angel, let's go to those highlights from Citrus Hill High School. This was Angel's game, and he always does a good job. Early in this one, Brett Hollingsworth, quick little out pass to P.J. Walker, who's a tough guy to bring down. Keeps going, takes about the entire Ramona team to finally drag him there. And then later give back to Walker, slicing through that defense and goes in for the touchdown there, 7-0. And Ramona, though, would answer. Damon Mays to, or that's Chris Kilgore. Chris Kilgore with a big pickup there. And then it's Damon Mays, the quarterback, too. Lorenzo Cabrera. We got his face here on the backdrop. Former soccer player. I discovered him. Then it's Hollingsworth, the P.J. Walker. Did you guys see that? He just hurdled that guy. Serious. And then it's P.J. Walker, all night long. Another big carry. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep feeding Walker. Goes in over the pile for another touchdown. That made it 14-0. Walker just doing it with another big run here against Ramona. And then, he did the work. You got to let him get paid into these drives. It seems like they were giving Walker the ball on every single snap. And why not? If it's working, keep going to it. This will end with another Walker touchdown. He goes in for the score. And it was 21-7 at that point. 21-7, Citrus Hill on top. And check out this play by Tyler Whitson for Citrus Hill with Ramona punting the Hawks. Whitson with a big return going down the sideline, getting some help here. And he's going to take it down to about the Ramona 32-yard line or so. And that would set up this. Brett Hollingsworth would find DeJuan Dantzler, and he's in for the touchdown. And it was all Citrus Hill. As we said, it was 7-7 at one point, and Citrus Hill just rolling at this point. Ramona with the ball, but the Hawks flying around on defense. Philip Vera coming up with the pick for Citrus Hill, and they would turn that into more points. Another, guess who? P.J. Walker touchdown coming up as Citrus Hill goes on to win 61-7, the final score. All right, now we're going to go to Carter against Moreno Valley, and this is nothing short of the Odyssey by Homer, if you know what I'm talking about. This is some long highlights, so get ready. If you're doing something at home, you might want to sit down for this one. These are some long highlights. Hopefully they're good, John. But Carter Moreno Valley was a great game, so I'm believing he is going to be really good. And then Angel, just a quick update. At the end of the highlights, we have an interview. So just let it keep rolling because the head coach from Moreno Valley is going to talk, courtesy of Ja Rule. All right, let's roll those highlights, Angel, and take everyone out to Moreno Valley High School. Big shout out to, that's Jared. That's Ja Rule's buddy. What do they call him, Ja? Peanut. You got it. Was he dancing? Yeah. What's he doing now? What's he doing to the water? Tell him to get away from the water. All right, Moreno Valley breaks the scoreless game with a field goal. Yeah, it was 0-0 at halftime, so it was 3-0 now after the field goal in the third quarter. Tomas Stewart getting some yards here for Moreno Valley in the third quarter. It was 3-0 still at that point. And then now in the fourth quarter, Ben Fitzpatrick gets the touchdown for Carter. That Stewart back-to-back runs? Back-to-back runs. And then it's Fitzpatrick with the touchdown for Carter. So that made it 6-3. Then later in the fourth, Zamori Ziegler catching the pass to give Carter the 2-point conversion. So that made it 8-3. Very low scoring in the fourth quarter. Next two plays here, Carter's defense carrying the team late in the fourth quarter, keeping it just a 5-point game. As we said, it was 8-3. Very low scoring. But Carter's special team right here, they're going to mishandle the punt, and Moreno Valley would recover deep in Carter territory. And according to Ja Rule, this is where the game would change. It was 8-3 there. This was late in the fourth quarter. Justice Tyler, the quarterback, hitting Ronald Gaither here for the touchdown. That would make it not 9-3, right? Yeah. That's right, 9-8. 9-8, and then 2-point conversion made it 10-8, 11-8, 11-8. Then Bernard Pula intercepting Carter, takes it back for the touchdown. That made it, oh, Ja, you messed up the math on me here. But Moreno Valley, 18-8. Moreno Valley, though, pulling away. That's what you need to know at home. So Moreno Valley defense, 24-8. Ja, you got 18-3 right here. That cannot be right.
No, I was rushing.
Ronald Gaither coming up with the interception here, and
I was trying to get it in for you.
I know, I appreciate it. He goes all the way back for the touchdown. So Moreno Valley's defense coming up big time. We've got Coach Watkins coming up to talk about the big win. Here he is.
On the little slant that he caught, put us ahead, was huge, and then that kind of made them have to throw the ball at the end of the game there, and that's not what they do well. And so we had those 2 picks for touchdowns that changed the game. We talked to our team about not having the turnovers. I think we had 4 turnovers in the first half, and we're using a Spalding ball. We haven't used a Spalding ball all year, so the quarterback threw the ball high all night. It's just something we got to work on next week.
All right, Javier, working on his
Javier, the
math.
mathematician, he told me at the beginning of the school year for RCC that he didn't need the book for his math class. Clearly, that paid off. Clearly.
All right, so also in the Eastern Division, Tahquitz taking on the Burros. The Burros have a very special place in my heart. I used to cover the great Jeff Steinberg when he was at Burros.
Who's now built a dynasty at Santiago.
Yeah, he had quite the dynasty up there for the Burros as well.
You were chatting Burros Tahquitz with the great Luis Amistoy, right?
Yeah, Luis Amistoy up in Bakersfield had me on his show this past Thursday. It's the truth. And so I was breaking down the Burros against Tahquitz.
Well, check this out. Let's roll out to Luis Amistoy / Allen Steele Field. That's what I renamed it to. There was smashing the donkeys. That's what they had on the poster up there, and they weren't talking Javier. Well, there was no horseplay going on in the beginning of this game for the Burros. Tahquitz smashing them. Brandon Esperanza bringing them down for the sack. 3rd and long scenario for the Titans on their first drive, cashing in Valdez, 80-yard pass. Davion Fields Pickett. With a name that long, he only catches long touchdown passes. 8-0. Next, Tockwitz drive, more of the same. Valdez to Michael Stewart. And the old touchdown Tockwitz, as they like to do. I forgot they made those beautiful calls out there. It was a nice refresher. How about a refresher right here? Teeing it high, letting it fly, the jump ball. Michael Stewart catching another one, just like Nelly. What does it take to be number one? He wears the number one, but that was his second touchdown of the evening. 22-0 lead at that point. All she wrote, 35-14 would be the final score from the Tockwitz-Burroughs game. Pep, Burroughs, a long drive home tonight after they were treated to a real air assault out there in Hemet.
Yeah, Ridgecrest not exactly around the corner. That's way up there.
But Tockwitz next week, ladies and gentlemen, a pay-per-view event. The next Pacquiao-Mayweather, a fight that never happened, but this one almost as good. Sanjay Tockwitz next week, a couple heavy hitters coming together. Pep, I know you're going to feel under a lot of pressure making your pick for that game.
I am, because Coach Gregovich at Tockwitz, we have his face on the backdrop over here. He's watching the show. He wants to know about all the other Eastern Division teams like Moval, what happened between Moval and Carter and Citrus Hill. So, Coach, I hope you're watching because we're just breaking down those highlights. Bear with us through those Moreno Valley highlights. We're going to do them again a little bit later in the show.
We've got the numbers lined up.
All right, go ahead. You go.
No question, though, Tockwitz impressing tonight, defense and offense. I saw them back early in the season. I think it was like week 1, week 2. The passing game wasn't very impressive, but this week a whole new story. Very impressive. Quite a few long distance connections for the Titans tonight. If they can keep that going, Sanjay undefeated, it would be a real statement. I think where is that game next week, Pep? Sanjay.
Sanjay was home, right, and so was Tockwitz. So I guess they do a flip.
Whoever won the coin flip, but that game. Sanjay, their perfect season. I know you predicted they're going to go the distance.
I predicted Sanjay would go undefeated and win CIF, but you know what else I also said on Twitter?
What was that?
I told this guy, Dennis Gregovich, on Twitter, I said, if you can get my face on one of those big play signs, because they use the big play signs like the Oregon Ducks do, if he could put my face on a play sign as a official play for Tockwitz, I would pick them all the way.
I didn't see your face on a play sign tonight.
No, he said after tonight. If they won tonight, they'd go up against Sanjay, the team I picked to go all the way. But I said, hey, if you put a face on the sign, my face on the sign, then I'll pick Tockwitz.
Sounds like a deal to me.
Hey, work on your math first.
Hey, is Javier related to the Cabrera kid on Ramona at all?
I don't think so. Are you?
Distant
Lorenzo?
cousins? No, Lorenzo.
No.
You play football. He plays football, right?
He plays football too.
Oh yeah,
he does
goes
both
ways.
Yeah. All right. Also in the Eastern Division, and this was the hot button topic all day today, was Norda Vista had to forfeit 7 of their victories this season, but they were still allowed to play their playoff game and continue their season. So, Angel, let's roll those highlights from Norda Vista High School. The Braves opening the postseason against Silverado tonight. And as we mentioned, a lot of talk about what Novi should have done or should not have done. There was an ineligible player, but the River Valley League administrators allowing Norda Vista to play despite forfeiting their River Valley League championship. First half, Novi had a 7-zip lead. It's Freddie Hawley with a big run, and then it's Andrew Martinez following with another strong run. I call him Thunder and Lightning. Big guy and small, shifty guy. Lighten up for Novi. That would set up an Edgar Magdaleno field goal coming up as the Braves take a 10-zip lead. And it would stay that way until the ensuing kickoff because Silverado wasted no time to strike back. Quincel Neal Riles, 96 yards back the other way to get the Hawks on the scoreboard. And suddenly it's a 10-7 ball game late in the second quarter. So Novi back on the attack in the second. But this pass coming up by Headland is picked off by Silverado, and the Hawks would eventually get 3 points after the turnover. Game was tied 10-10 at the half, but just like clockwork, and Ken Batdorf has said it, he called it, and he was right again tonight. When I'm at the game, Novi plays awful. It was 10-10 at the half. I leave. Final score, Norda Vista wins 38-27. 16. Andrew Martinez knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's like, that camera away from me. I'm awful when you're around, Pep. I know. I'm sorry. I got to stay away from Novi. I'm sorry, guys. I'm bad luck. But you did win tonight, 38-16, the final score. All right, back here live in the studio. Let's go through those Eastern Division scores now, and then we will unveil the brackets for this Friday. So let's go to the Eastern Division scoreboard. San Gorgonio, 69-20. The Spartans having little trouble in their opening round game. Tockwitz against the Burros, 35-14, all Titans in this one. Norda Vista defeating Silverado 38-16, as we mentioned, 10-10 at the half, and the Braves blow it wide open in the second half. Oak Hills over Rialto 42-24. Also in the Eastern Division, Citrus Hill downing Ramona 61-7. It was tied 7-7, and then the Hawks just pulled away. Moval 24-8. This was a 0-0 game at halftime, but Moval pulls it out. And is that the rest of the? Serrano and Hemet 45-6. Murrieta Valley head coach Vinny Fazio said if Hemet could pull off this titanic upset against Serrano, he'd buy a whole case of Diet Dr. Pepper and celebrate with Coach Reitz, and just not going to happen tonight. Hemet a loser against Serrano 45-6. But still, congratulations to the Bulldogs for making it into the playoffs this season. All right, let's go to those Eastern Division brackets now and bring you up to speed. San Gorgonio taking on Tockwitz. My heart torn in two different directions on this game. Which one to pick? Norda Vista, Oak Hills. Citrus Hill taking on Apple Valley. And Moreno Valley gets a showdown with Serrano in the second round. That's where we stand. Now let's go straight to the East Valley Division scores. And we're going to have highlights of some of these games. Harupa Hills holding off a pesky Arrowhead Christian team, 55-41. So the top-seeded Spartans are moving on. Santa Clara up there in Oxnard defeating Banning 39-20. Who else did we have? We had, was it Fillmore? Yeah, in Citrus Valley. The Blackhawks are moving on with a 41-14 victory, defeating the Flashes. And Rim of the World beating Linfield Christian 38-37 in overtime. We will have video highlights of this game in the Saturday scouting report. It was in overtime. Linfield Christian scored a touchdown, kicked the extra point. Rim of the World got the ball, scored a touchdown, went for the two-point conversion and the win, and the Scots got it done. 38-37 your final score as Rim of the World is moving on, the defending champions in the East Valley Division. All right, let's go to the brackets now in the East Valley Division and show you the matchups for next week. That's the Eastern. Let's go to the East Valley Division. There it is. Harupa Hills taking on Shadow Hills. Santa Clara, Western Christian. Big Bear is moving on. They'll have a game with Citrus Valley now. And Rim of the World still waiting for the St. Margaret's 29 Palms winner. I didn't see the score yet, so the winner of that one will take on Rim of the World. Oh, it's tomorrow? Dennis Pope's telling me it's a Saturday game. So the winner of that one will take on Rim of the World in the East Valley Division. All right, so those are the East Valley Division brackets. A lot more scores and highlights to get to, but first let's show you our HS GameTime top 10 as we head into the second round of the playoffs. And here it is, the top two teams. You know them by heart by now. Norco, Rancho Verde, Chaparral, Heritage, Great Oak, San G, Riverside Poly, and Santiago. The only team that might be slipping in this one would be Great Oak, who bowed out of the playoffs, losing to Norco tonight. All right, back here live in the studio, we will rehash all these scores and highlights and some analysis. We've got the reporters standing by to break this all down. But first, a quick reminder, every Tuesday and Thursday, I join Stu, Tiffany, and Jimbo on KCal Rocks 96.7 FM, and we talk about all the local headlines, and you can bet a lot of it's the high school football playoffs. So on Tuesday, we will break some of these games down. And Jimbo was actually a high school football star back in the Midwest, but I use the word star very loosely. He tells this story of how the star quarterback would sit in the front of the bus and what Jimbo would do in the back of the bus. Here's Jimbo. All right, Jimbo, let's go back to your glory days as a high school football star, and tell me about piling on those buses and the road trips in high school football.
Yeah, you do love to play on at your own home, but sometimes road games, just feeling that environment, going in on enemy territory where it's you against the whole world, that feeling. And, some of the fun can be had on the bus. Some road trips a little bit further, so you have to kill a little time while you want to make it fun, keep loose while you're on the bus going to the enemy's territory. I remember one time I was sitting in the back of the bus. I know you're going to find this hard to believe, Pep, but I was more of a back of the bus type of guy.
The cool kids sit.
The cool kids, you got the nerds up there with the coaches going over the important plays and stuff like that. If you don't know it by now, you're going to learn it. That's all I'm having to say. But me and my buddy Paul O.D., we were sitting in the back, and our nerd starting quarterback was talking with the head coach about plays, and he had glasses like I do, and we were taking spitballs and shooting them from the back of the bus, and while he was talking to the coach, they'd come singing, and pow! I got one right on his glasses. The coach turned around, did not find me. I did it again. I got found out. So the coach had the bus pull over, had the rest of the team get off, and I had to clean the entire bus before the rest of the team could get back on. So I think that may have blew a few scholarship offers besides being 5'7" and lacking
5'7"?
skills. Yeah, But in spikes, I was like about 5'8", 5'8", with a vertical of 3 inches or I don't know. But anyways, try to have fun and keep it loose on the road. That's my advice to you guys.
Thank you very much, Jimbo from KCal Rocks 96.7 FM. He's a goofball. Who would have guessed, right? All right, now back to the highlights and scores, and we're going back to the Inland Division. Kyle Glazer standing by, very anxious to break down some of these games. But first, let's go to there was 2 games featuring all local matchups with some real heavyweights. One of them, Great Oak taking on Norco, 2 of the top teams on our HSGameTime rankings. Angel, let's go right to it and keep this show moving and go out to Norco High School. Adam Drexler doing another fine job shooting these highlights. Early on, Laquan Williams, 38 yards to Raekwon Yates, setting him up at the doorstep. And then it's Nick Fisher going in from 2 yards out in for the touchdown. But Great Oak was down big time. It was 36-13, Norco in control. Now we go to the third quarter. Corey Young, he racked up more than 400 yards on the ground the previous week against Santiago. Another big game for Young. Goes in for the touchdown here. That made it 43-13, Cougars on top. Still in the third quarter, Great Oak quarterback Laquan Williams pass here to that was the behind the line of scrimmage to Presley to Yates, 34 yards, and then Williams to Presley and the 2-point conversion, right, Drex? All right, 43-21, Norco on top. Onside kick now for Great Oak. It pays off. They recover, but on the ensuing drive, the Wolfpack looking for some points, but Norco's Brandon Mills comes flying in, and he's got the interception. Norco, though, would come up empty on the ensuing offensive possession. So let's fast forward to the fourth quarter now. Williams going 15 yards to Andrew Molinar. The PAT, no good on this one. 43-27, Norco in control. Alec Burr, get in there! 49-27, Norco on top. And Williams trying to fight to the finish for Great Oak and get his team back in it. But Jared Emanuel, pick 6, house call for Norco. The Cougars go on to win by a final score of 56-27. Norco is on a roll right now. It's a very tough team, dangerous team to meet right now in the postseason. All right, now it's on to Eisenhower. The Eagles finishing the season strong as co-champions of the Citrus Belt League, taking on Santiago. How would the Sharks do going on the road, taking on a very good Eagles team? Angel, let's roll those highlights. And was it raining out there, Kyle?
It was pretty foggy. It wasn't raining full time, though.
It looked like a little hazy out there. But early on, that was the sack from Eisenhower. And then, but Santiago would answer before the break. Isaiah Manley going in for the touchdown there. That was made it 7-zip, and that was in the second quarter. But Eisenhower would battle back after the muffed punt return. Marquand Harris rolled out, hit Terry Clarendon 28 yards. That would set up Harris scoring on the keeper there. The sneak ties the game at 7. But you can't leave a lot of time on the clock for Santiago. A couple long passes, ends with this Brad Duran touchdown catch, and it was Santiago up 14-7 at the half. Third quarter now, same score. Barnett to Jordan Huffman, who goes in for the touchdown. That made it 21-7, and Santiago goes on to win by a final score of
35-14.
35-14, right on cue. The big ticket, Kyle Glazer into the show. And Kyle, I mean, from the previous week, we saw Santiago pretty much lay an egg against Norco. We knew they were much better than that. But you were very excited about what Eisenhower was doing as well.
I was. A lot of us picked Eisenhower to win this game. We thought they matched up well, and it was a game for a little bit. It was 7-7 with a minute left. With a minute left until halftime. Santiago only scored once on their first 4 possessions. Ike had 3 sacks. The defense was playing well. Santiago's defense was matching them. It was a very good defensive battle for a little bit. It was really that touchdown drive right before half. A minute to go. Everyone thought Santiago was just going to sit on it. Ike would then get the ball to start the second half. No way. Santiago goes 70 yards in 40 seconds. 3 long passes by Barnett. Scores the touchdown. Boom, it's 14-7. Took that momentum, scored on their first 3 drives of the second half, and the game was pretty much over by the fourth quarter. The backups were in. This was a very good effort by Santiago. I want to talk about their defense, though. They gave up 153 points in their 3 games entering this one. They went in and held Ike to their lowest point total of the year with 4 sacks, 2 interceptions. Really the only unit in the entire game that played well start to finish was the Santiago defense. Go figure.
We knew Santiago could pile up the points. The offense was there. If the defense would show up and make some stops and come up big, they were going to be a force in the playoffs, and that's exactly what happened tonight, right?
And they had to. And I talked to, Ron Robinson and Tyon Smith, and they told me they were angry. They were legitimately ticked off at the way they had played the last few games, particularly the last game against Norco. Really got them going. Their defensive coordinator wasn't happy. They weren't happy. They were fighting, for pride. And they really came out and played a good game, This was not going to be an easy win for Santiago. Ike's a very good team, but Santiago really played a very complete game. So not only did Santiago hold Ike to their lowest point total of the season, or tied for it, Santiago also scored more points than Ike has given up all year. So, Santiago on both sides of the ball really played well. They limited their mistakes after the first few minutes. It was probably, you could argue, it might have been the best, most complete game they've played all year against a respectable opponent.
Obviously, that loss to Norco in the final week, I'm sure they kind of retooled some things and maybe had some inspirational words from Coach Steinberg.
I'm sure, and they were without 2 or 3 starters as well. So, they were shorthanded. They were coming in off some bad performances and really stepped up. And this was also Santiago's first playoff victory under Jeff Steinberg. They were 0-4 in his first 5 seasons. They were a perennial one-and-done team. Came in on the road against a good opponent, shut them down on both sides of the ball, and had the game won by after 3 quarters. Definitely a very good victory for Santiago.
All right, Kyle, let's for a second look ahead, see if Steinberg and the Sharks can go 2-0 in the playoffs. They have Upland, a team that they're very familiar with, and it seems like every time they play Upland, it's a very close game all the way down to the wire.
It was 43-42, overtime. Upland won the first time these teams played. A lot of things have changed, week 3 of the season, week 4 of the season, whatever it was until now. But I would expect it to be a competitive game again. These are 2 very similar teams who can throw the ball and make some things happen. Their defenses have been suspect at times. But I think Santiago's chomping at the bit because they feel like they should have won that Upland game, and they're going to get a chance to prove it.
And guess who's home in that game, according to my math?
It is Santiago, I believe.
Yeah. Because Upland was home tonight, and Santiago played on the road.
It should be the Sharks, and I'm sure there'll be a full crowd in effect for that one. And Santiago, we've gotten on them. They've played great at times this year, and extremely poorly at times this year. Now, they really do control their own destiny to reach the semifinals. I think against Upland, we know they can compete with Upland. They're home. It's totally within their grasp to get to the semifinals, and that's something that I think that there were points in the season where you never could have said that about Santiago. So give the Sharks credit for, hanging tough, going through some rough games, and still coming out and to be in a position where they can have a season they can be proud of.
And in case you're curious who's on the other side of the bracket, Chaparral and Centennial, if they were to reach the semifinals.
Right, that's when things get a little dicier. But for now,
Yes.
I think if you're Santiago, the fact that you're even in this position, that you're coming off of a very good road playoff victory. You've gotten that monkey off your back. And now you have a good chance to reach the semis. I mean, you have to be happy considering all they've been through this year with all the injuries, all the issues. I mean, I think a lot of people had much higher expectations for the Sharks this year than what they performed. So they have a chance at redemption.
A great all-around effort from Jeff Steinberg and his Sharks tonight. A very winnable game against Upland coming up, and who knows, as you said, this could be a banner season for Santiago if they can reach the semis.
Yeah, who knows?
All right, thank you, Kyle, and we'll keep it in the Inland Division. And speaking of Centennial, Angel, let's go to those highlights. Centennial taking on Etiwanda to open the playoffs tonight. And the Huskies offense continuing to roll. Beats by Trey Watson going in for the touchdown. 7-zip Centennial on top. Still in the opening frame, Etiwanda quarterback Darren Ratliff looking downfield, but the pass is tipped and lands in the hands of Centennial's Manu Namura for the interception. And the first play from scrimmage on the ensuing drive, it's ya boy Webb, Robert Weber, 20 yards to Barry Ware. That made it 14-zip. Huskies leading. Then it's Weber to Grayson Bankhead. Nice catch here along the sideline. And that would lead to this. Weber, ya boy Webb, to Bankhead for the touchdown. Centennial goes on to win by a final score of 56-23. And Centennial, we showed you the brackets a little bit earlier. We'll get Chaparral. Chaparral defeating Chino Hills, making a good comeback, in fact, against Chino Hills. We've got some early highlights from that game. So, Angel, let's go ahead and roll those highlights of Chino Hills at Chaparral tonight. Jeff Parenti covering this game for us and always doing a great job sending us some iPad video back. And this is Daniel Martinez for Chino Hills going in for a touchdown. Now, Chino Hills built a 28-7 lead in the first half. The Pumas cutting into that lead. Austin raised it to Franklin Shear for the touchdown. That made it 28-14. Chaparral trailing at halftime. But in the second half, the Pumas stormed back, and Chaparral wins by a final score of 31-28. So the Pumas advance in the Inland Division playoffs. All right, let's go to the Inland Division scores now and bring you up to speed. Vista Marietta opening the playoffs with an easy win, 57-14 against the Bears, Los Osos. Yucaipa coming up short against Charter Oak, 53-33. Still a great season by the T-Birds to get into the playoffs. Redlands East Valley, their season ends against Rancho Cucamonga, 48-7. Norco defeating Great Oak, 56-27. The Cougars ran out to that big lead. Great Oak chipped away at that, but Norco wins. Upland defeating South Hills 21-14. So Upland now gets Santiago in the second round. The Sharks winning 35-14 against Eisenhower. And Chaparral 3 points better than Chino Hills, 31-28. So the Pumas making that valiant comeback, and Centennial having no problem with Etiwanda, 56-23. So those are the scores. Now let's check out the Inland Division brackets one more time. The games that we will be covering this Friday. Vista Marietta getting Charter Oak in the next round. Rancho Cucamonga and Norco. I know a lot of people are eyeing that Norco-Vista Marietta matchup in the semis, if that will happen. Upland and Santiago, another rematch there. And Chaparral getting Centennial, offense versus defense kind of in that ball game. Which one will prevail? All right, that's the Inland Division. Now back to the Central Division, the big game there. Heritage and Arlington. And for the first half, Chris, it was close.
It was a thriller, 7-7 at halftime. I saw that on the old Twitter feed when I was at the Tockwitz-Burroughs game, so I had to put the Ferrari into overdrive, 120 miles an hour. I had the Hemet PD, the CHP, the Sheriff's Department all trailing me.
Did they give you an escort to the game?
Yeah, I thought it was an escort. Turns out they were
chasing
pursuing me. They were chasing me until I told them my name was Javier Cabrera. Then they let me off the hook. VIP
He's
stuff.
not even listening.
He's taking a nap over there. He's thinking about the next Killers concert he's going to.
He's thinking about NASCAR, Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson. Javier, speaking of cars,
Kevin
Javier
Harvick,
had a broke-down car, and he still made it to Los Angeles 2 nights in a row to see the Killers. Talk about dedication. That's really pulling a rabbit out of the hat right there.
Yeah.
Similar to his math skills, huh?
Yeah.
That's for sure. Anyways, enough giving Javier a hard time. Let's roll out to that Heritage Arlington game. The Patriot flying high with his American colors out there. Heritage going to their bread and butter in the second half. Enough of this tie business, says Lima High Hefo. The power running game, no mercy for the first down then. His partner in crime, Sione Taki, finishes the drive with the 30-yard TD run. A little bit of a late hit here from Arlington. Things would be chippy between the Lions and the Patriots all night long. Then things get wild here on the pick. Matt Palmer interception, gonna get tackled? No, not acceptable. The old back lateral to his pal, Mr. Hefo, shaking off about half the Arlington roster for an extra 25 yards here late in the third quarter, and Heritage would cash in. Mr. Virgil version 2.0, getting it done Elway style, diving across the goal line, 21-7. The Heritage lead at that point. Then La Quinta Blackhawks, take a look at this. Hefo on the power running game again. You guys are going to need to figure out how to stop that. Maybe Ray Lewis could come out of retirement and suit up for the Blackhawks next week, because you're going to need him if you're going to shut down the Hefo power running game. Mr. Palmer, his third interception of the evening. He would be a little shaken up, but would get up once again. Watch out for Hefo, Palmer, Virgil, Taki, and of course, Coach Broach and company.
I've got him taped up, or I'd grab him.
We've got La Quinta, we've got the Coachella Valley versus the beautiful city of Menifee next week in a showdown for the ages, Pep. It should be a pretty good game. I know you're not a big fan of the DVL, but La Quinta is scrappy, and I do think at La Quinta, they have won a CIF title. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to win it this year, but I definitely have H-Town winning this game, especially as a Palm Springs guy. I could never pick La Quinta to win a game. I mean, come on, give me a
It's a rival, right?
Yeah.
Or one of your rivals.
One of the rivals. But H-Town, they were going with the power running game. Usually they throw a little bit more of the long distance connection in there with Virgil and company. I expect next week you're going to see more of that dynamic offense. I think they just had a few interceptions in the first half. They wanted to take care of the ball, be more conservative, ball control, roll some clock, especially once they got ahead later in the game. Coach Broach just wanted to control the clock, control the ball with the Hefo power running game. Next week, though, I'm going to throw a score out there.
Yes.
Heritage wins 35.
Should we mark this down?
35-17. That's my score.
35-17 Heritage over La Quinta. All right, fair enough. All right, thank you, Chris. And you'll be back with some Burrows Talkwitz action, I guess.
Sure. Hemet, Menifee, two of my favorite cities. I was in both tonight. Felt like Christmas.
Felt like Christmas coming early in the Erkley house. All right, let's go to Summit taking on Riverside Poly, Angel. Let's go out to Ramona Stadium. There's the Skyhawks, kind of the underdog in this one. Jake Marisnik, Major League Baseball player for the Miami Marlins in the house. We'll talk to him in the Monday morning pep rally. Poly quarterback Chandler Drakeslin to Akili Ross, like a boss, going in for the 78-yard touchdown, 7-zip Poly on top. And that's Johnny Football. We're going to have Johnny Football in the Monday morning pep rally, too. Ensuing kickoff, Summit back to field it, and Poly coming up with the INT. Knocking the fumble out, and they recover, and they would turn that into points. Devontre Hale going in for the touchdown, and that made it the Bears put the Bears on top 13-0. Now it's Summit with ball. Poly playing some defense. Evan Telliard plucks this ball out of the air for the INT for Poly. So later, more Poly defense. They were coming up big time against the Skyhawks. Ben Tualega, the sack there for Riverside Poly. And then Skyhawks pinned up near their own goal line. Going downfield here. Quentin Johnson tips it, juggles it, stays with it. And he's got another pick for Riverside Poly. And Poly would turn that into points. David Samuelu gets the call here. Get in there. Touchdown Bears. Riverside Poly rolls past Summit 57-26, the final score. All right, the top team in the Central Division is the Rancho Verde, the top seed. They were opening against Colton. Could the Yellow Jackets pull off the upset? The Yellow Jackets actually taking the early lead on the Mustangs, but would it stand? Angel, let's roll those highlights from the Rancho Verde High School. Here come the Yellow Jackets. And, Ja, you said my boy Levante Wilson, right, from Colton High School, giving me a shout-out. Levante injured his wrist earlier this season, and I was hoping to see him back on the field at some point, but speedy recovery to Levante Wilson. Yellow Jackets getting the field goal. So Colton led 3-0. Then Keyshawn Slaughter, the green-eyed dragon, returning this kick for a touchdown. And the Rancho Verde goes on top 7-3. So Chris Mailo, the head coach for Colton, pulling over Gil Martinez, the quarterback, going over some things, trying to keep his team in the ball game because it can quickly turn into an avalanche when you're playing the Rancho Verde. Quentin Hemphill coming up big time. INT for the Mustangs. Hemphill just zigzagging all across the field. He's got to have a big return after that interception there. And it was all Rancho Verde defense tonight. They were playing big time against Colton. Now the Yellow Jackets on offense once again. And Colton just having a hard time moving the ball against a very fast, speedy Rancho Verde team, forcing the fumble there. Colton would recover. And then Sharon Jones marching his team down the field. They were leading 14-3, as we mentioned at this point. And then it's Jones connecting on a fourth down play for a touchdown as the Rancho Verde goes on to win by a final score of 52-3. So the Mustangs are moving on. So let's go to the Central Division scores from tonight, first round of the CIF Southern Section playoffs. The Mustangs having no trouble with the Yellow Jackets, 52-3 the final score. Elsinore called it 55-40 against Palm Desert. So congratulations to the Tigers and my boy Jacob Guglielmana. Also tonight from the Central Division, Kaiser blanking Canyon Springs, 49-0. I picked the Cougars in this one. Never said I was perfect or correct. I just do what I do. Kaiser 49-0. Paloma Valley rolling past Chino 49-14. Coach Marita, if you're watching out there, hook me up with some highlights for the Saturday show. He's very good about that. Riverside Poly over Summit 57-26. Colony over Palm Springs, right? So I think we had it backwards the other way, but Colony defeated Palm Springs, the home of Chris Ercole, 36-21. Heritage defeating Arlington 21-7. It was tied at 7 at halftime, and the Patriots come out big time in the second half to win it 21-7. Now let's look at the brackets, the matchups for this Friday in the Central Division. Angel, let's roll that so we can show everyone who's playing on Friday, second round of the playoffs. This is the Central Division. The Rancho Verde gets another crack at Elsinore. Maybe it's the other way around. The Tigers get another crack at the Mustangs. Kaiser taking on Paloma Valley. Poly against Colony. And La Quinta taking on Heritage. So that's the Central Division. Now we go to the Eastern Division. And Norte Vista taking on Silverado tonight. Dennis Pope was at the game. We're going to talk to him in just a moment. And they have this theory that when I'm around, they don't play very well, which really held form tonight. We'll talk about that in a second. But the big story, the big hot button issue that a lot of people were talking about yesterday and today was Norte Vista had to forfeit 7 of their victories from this season, and they had their River Valley League championship stripped away, but the Braves were still allowed to continue their season into the playoffs. So they were taking on Silverado to open the Eastern Division postseason. All right, Angel, let's roll the highlights from Norte Vista High School. The Braves rolled out to a 7-zip lead. There's Ken Batdorf and the crew. How they respond after a lot of talk this week around the Norte Vista football program. Well, they were leading 7-zip here in the second quarter, and it's Fred Hawley with a big run here. The Ramona transfer doing big things now at Norte Vista. And then here comes his counterpart from out of the backfield, Andrew Martinez. Another strong run, thunder and lightning between Martinez and Hawley for Norte Vista. And he came right up to the HSGameTime camera. Always got to be on your toes when you're on the sideline. That would set up Edgar Magdaleno. I think this was about a 36-yarder. The Braves go up 10-0 against Silverado. But Silverado, the Hawks, they would strike back on the ensuing kickoff. Quincel Neil Riles, 96 yards back the other way to get Silverado on the board, making it a 10-7 ball game. So Norte Vista hoping to pad their lead a little bit before halftime. They had the ball here, but this pass will be picked off by Silverado. and the Hawks would turn that into points. They'd get a field goal on the ensuing drive. So that tied the game 10-10 at the half. But like I said, just like clockwork, Ken Batdorf called it. He says, when I'm around at the Norte Vista games on the sidelines, his team plays awful. So it was 10-10 at halftime. I leave. I left the heavy lift for Dennis Pope here. You can come back here live in the studio. I left 10-10, and I hear the final score was 38-16. So Norte Vista really turned it on after I left. I really apologize for being at the game, but at least they won. So
yeah, they came back really quickly. Jesus Gastelum turned an interception, 47 yards for a touchdown on Silverado's first drive, and that seemed to get Norte Vista rolling back to what they were doing. They just started to pound the ball again with Hawley and Martinez, and things started to work out. They started to tire down Silverado, and they eventually turned the tide, and they won the game.
Now, I've seen Norte Vista several times this year, Pope, and they've looked great. They just kind of looked out of sorts in the first half. I mean, what was the difference between the first half and obviously the second half when they pulled away and kind of won by a substantial margin?
Andrew Martinez told me, he said at a certain point in the first half when they had the 10-0 lead, they felt maybe that they had the game at hand, that it was going to be easy. And so they let off the gas pedal a little bit, and they maybe got a little overconfident.
So Norte Vista is moving on. Let me get my brackets here to see who exactly they're playing in the next round.
Yeah, they're going to play Oak Hills.
They're playing Oak Hill.
Yeah,
so
Oak Hills.
That's a tough customer there, especially playing on the road. So Norte Vista, maybe they avoided the loss, kind of used it as a learning experience, let's say, because in the playoffs you can't really take any teams lightly. Correct?
That's true. They moved to 3-8 overall, and we were thinking about it tonight. And if they go on and win a championship, their final record will be 6-8. So it's a little strange for a championship to think about that. But Oak Hills, the Bulldogs, are a tough customer. They play tight defense. They got a running back, and so they'll definitely be a challenge for Norte Vista.
Now, a couple days ago, all the talk was the forfeits and what were they going to do, and they were still allowed to play in the postseason. Do you think the slow start to the first half was any carryover from a lot of that talk?
You wouldn't think that. You don't think that would play into Norte Vista's thinking. They've already prepared for Silverado from a tactical standpoint,
Sure.
So it wouldn't really make a difference in terms of their execution. I think that when the 10-0 lead took hold and they had the emotion of the last 72 hours kind of drained from them all of a sudden, and all the adrenaline, with the 10-0 lead and the confidence feeling, maybe they sat back a little bit and they expected the game to come to them rather than them having to go get it. So. To their credit, they bounced back in the second half. Andrew Martinez finished with 197 yards. Hawley had 103 together. They combined for 300. And then even they got their passing game going a little bit late. Michael Hedlund had a 47 or 48-yard touchdown pass to Victor Martinez late in the game to really put it away. And then to top it off, Silverado came back on their final last try, and they scored with 0 seconds left on the clock to make it 38-16. And they weren't allowed to take the extra point, which I thought was kind of strange. I think that's like the point after attempt, but the referees were like, no, it's over. So they went and shook hands.
Let's go. You guys have a long drive back to Silverado.
They kept it classy, and the coaches all shook hands, and there was no ill feelings after the game. But you could tell that Silverado, they just didn't have it in the second half.
So you're telling me I show up, and it's 10-0 at one point. Norte Vista's leading. I show up, Silverado scores 10, ties the game up. I leave, and Novi scores 28 unanswered.
Yeah, you probably won't want to go up to Hesperia next weekend then for Ken Batdorf's sake anyway.
Yes, if they want to reach out to me and say, hey Pep, just stay away, and when we get our CIF championship rings, then we'll bring you around. And
I think Kyle will be at that game, so maybe he'll let you know what happens anyway.
I'll send some text to Kyle and be like, hey, tell Coach Batdorf I'm watching from afar. Not on your sideline, but I'm still there. I'm still there with you. Yeah, what can you say about Andrew Martinez and Freddie Hawley? I've seen a lot of good running backs, but those two paired together, I mean, that's a pretty dangerous
It's a
tandem.
solid duo, and they do that whole pitch offense that Batdorf's been running forever. I think it starts up front. Especially with the center guard combinations and opening up the gaps. And once the defense tries to adjust to Hawley, then they pound Martinez in, and that just works wonders for him. And then they bring Hawley back, and he can get to the outside. And Martinez is fast too, but he's better at running in between the tackles. Hawley's a little bit taller, maybe a little more elusive, but doesn't really want to take that pounding on the inside, it didn't seem like. So that's what Martinez is there for. And then they get that working, and finally, they can throw the ball a little bit. So
yeah, run, catch the other team off guard, boom.
Right, that's how it works.
And you got a guy like Victor Gonzalez, who's a Division I, wide receiver.
Yeah, Victor Gonzalez. I'm Martinez. I get him. Yeah, but yeah, Victor, he's going to Nevada, right? So.
Yeah, he's going to Nevada. So yeah, he's a big-time receiver, and you've got those two running backs back there. And I think Nordavista's in good shape as long as I just stay away.
Last week we called them maybe the dark horse in the division. I think, given this situation and that they're still in there, I think that they're definitely a dark horse. They should be taken seriously now. For sure.
The Braves obviously doing some great things, but they do have a tough road. They go on the road to Oak Hills, and let's just say they get past that. They would have the winner of San Gorgonio and Tahquitz. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not easy any way you slice it here in the Eastern Division.
They're definitely paying their penance one way or the other, right?
Yes. All right, thank you, Pope. Great job as always. Saturday soccer.
Yeah, last game of the season.
Yeah, my golden trophies are in action, so we got 2 more games to go.
Okay.
We're about a 500 team.
Yeah, really?
So,
man, I wish we were 500.
That bad, huh? Were you the FC Orioles?
We're Orioles FC. Yeah, because
Orioles
we wore the
FC.
orange jerseys, and the boys wanted to have a bird theme. They couldn't agree, and so the only orange bird I could think of was Orioles.
Was it Orioles?
Right? So it was settled, and now we're 1-8 going into week 10. So,
Pope.
Yeah. So.
Well, your analysis is much better than your soccer coaching skills. I'm sorry.
Gosh.
I'm just kidding.
Man, I wish that wasn't the
case. It's not a direct. Your son's team's not a direct reflection.
Not at all. No.
How you're coaching.
Believe me, there's 7 other players out on that field.
All right, Pope. Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
All right, let's keep it in the Eastern Division. Citrus Hill, the reigning champions. Angel, let's roll those highlights from Citrus Hill High School taking on Ramona. Former Rams head coach Damon Dustin going against his former team. How would his homecoming of sorts be? Well, P.J. Walker, a heavy dose of P.J. Walker for Citrus Hill in this one. Big play there, and here comes Walker going in for a touchdown against Ramona, and that made it 7-zip. And how about this play? Chris Kilgore, big run here across midfield, almost to about the 30-yard line of Citrus Hill, and that would lead to this. Damon Mays to Lorenzo Cabrera for the touchdown. So Ramona ties the game at 7 apiece, but Citrus Hill going back to Walker, catching the pass out of the backfield, and obviously he can run too. Another big run by P.J. Walker, and he's going to go in for another touchdown here, flying over the line and gets in for the score. And is this the run where he hurdles the guy? Check this out. P.J. Walker, nice run here. I think it's coming up then. Nice big run here, about 20 yards on that carry. And here comes P.J. Walker again, as we told you, a heavy dose of P.J. against Ramona. And I think we've got a touchdown coming up. P.J. going in for the score. That would make it 21-7. And it was a lot of Citrus Hill in this one. As Ramona, they tied the game early at 7 apiece, but man, it's hard to hold off the Hawks for too long in this one. On this return, Tyler Whitson, big return here, getting some help as he makes his way down the field, and that would lead to this. Quarterback Brett Hollingsworth to DeJuan Dantzler. The catch and bounces off a tackle, goes in for the touchdown. It was a lot of Citrus in this one. They also flying around on defense, especially in the secondary. Philip Rivera coming down with the interception here for Citrus Hill. And then on the ensuing offensive possession, the Hawks cash in with another P.J. Walker touchdown as Citrus Hill goes on to win by a final score of 61-7. All right, also in the Eastern Division, Carter taking on Moreno Valley. This game was scoreless, 0-0 at halftime. So we're going to pick things up in the second half. Javier Cabrera, as we mentioned earlier, giving us a ton of highlights. And we're going to work our way through these highlights. His math was a little off the first time around, but hopefully we've worked it out now. So let's go to those highlights. Carter taking on Moreno Valley. And that is Javier Cabrera's buddy, but he just goes by, his name's Peanut. So, what do you know? Peanut. All right. Moreno Valley breaks the scoreless tie with a field goal, 3-zip at that point. All right, Carter looking to try to get the scoring going. Tomas Stewart here getting some yards for the Lions. And they're going back to Stewart here. And he's doing some nice work here to move the chains for Carter. That was in the third quarter. Same drive now in the fourth. And Ben Fitzpatrick goes in for the touchdown. And Carter takes the lead 6-3. Later in the fourth, Zamori Ziegler catching the 2-point conversion. So right after that touchdown, that made it 8-3. Carter in the lead. But here, it's Carter's special team mishandles the punt. Moreno Valley would recover, and that would change the game because Justice Tyler hits Ronald Gaither coming up the punt. Carter's defense would recover it. I'm sorry, Carter's Moreno Valley. Moreno Valley would recover. We just skipped 2 plays right here. Moreno Valley would recover it. And that would lead to this. Justice Tyler, yes, there he is. Justice Tyler to Ronald Gaither. And that would make it 9-8, Moreno Valley on top. They tack on the 2-point conversion. Tyler takes it in. So that makes it 11-8, Moreno Valley. Still in the fourth quarter, Carter with the ball. Bernard Pula intercepts and goes in for the touchdown. Pick six, 18-8. Moreno Valley on top, so the defense giving the Vikings some points in this one. Then later, Brent Hernandez for Carter, throwing the ball downfield. Carter trying to hang around in this one. It was still just a 10-point game, 18-8. Could the Lions get it done? Well, on the very next play, Ronald Gaither already caught a touchdown pass, and now he's going to have a pick six all the way back for the touchdown. Moreno Valley goes on to win this one by a final score of 24-8. Javier Cabrera caught up with the Vikings head coach, Coach Watkins, after the game and talked about the defense and the big win for Moval.
Well, obviously, the little touchdown to Ronald Gaithers on the little slant that he caught that put us ahead was huge, and then that kind of made them have to throw the ball at the end of the game there, and that's not what they do well. And so we had those 2 picks for touchdowns that changed the game. We talked to our team about not having the turnovers. I think we had 4 turnovers in the first half, and we're using a Spalding ball. We haven't used a Spalding ball all year, so the quarterback threw the ball high all night. It's just something we got to work on next week.
Javier Cabrera, our man of mystery. It's always a mystery when he hands me the shot sheet and what's coming up next.
The shot sheet is almost more exciting than the game sometimes.
Because a lot of these highlights, and Chris, you can vouch for me, we see for the first time together on the air, and,
we do,
and we're going through this together.
With Javier, as long as he's got the right team.
If he's at the right school,
if he's at the right school with the right team.
Still working on the math.
You never know. Javier, he's not. Usually when we joke about him, he's in the room. He's not even in the room right now. He walked off to go get a piece of pizza or something, and who knows where he went.
Did. Well, his buddy Peanut was in the highlights. So.
Maybe he went to go meet up with Peanut for a drink or something. He needed
slice of pizza here to celebrate another good night of HS Game Time.
There you go.
But we're going to keep it in the Eastern Division. My Burrows.
Burrows, a lot of chatter. You were on the horn with Luez Amestoy from Bakersfield and Hemet fame earlier this week, talking about the big Tockwitz-Burrows showdown. Burrows making, about an hour and a half drive?
At least.
2 hours,
More
maybe?
than that, yeah. It's far.
Where Coach Steinberg from Santiago
past the high desert
got famous. That's where he first made his name and the legend was born.
Jeff Steinberg, he founded Burrows. Didn't found it, but he was the founding father.
A team who definitely put their name on the map tonight was Tockwitz. Let's roll out to Luez Amstoy, Allen Steelfield.
Was Allen out there?
Yeah, Allen was out there. No horseplay for the Burrows tonight. Brandon Asperza for Tockwitz, putting the pressure on, getting the sack. Angels' favorite play on defense. Then, 3rd and long scenario for the Titans in the first drive of the game for them. Nolan Valdez, 80-yard touchdown pass for Devian Fields-Pickett. 8-0 Tockwitz lead at that point. Then, next Tockwitz drive, more of the same. Michael Stewart. Touchdown Titans. My favorite announcer in all of the Inland Empire, the Tockwitz announcer. Don't know his name, but that was a 15-0 lead for the Titans at that point. Then one more, teeing it high, let it fly. When in doubt, air it out. The jump ball to Michael Stewart. I heard a little chatter. People calling him the best receiver in the Inland Empire, or in Riverside County, Pep, excuse me.
It's hard to argue against.
22-0, the lead at that point. They would win 35-14. That sets up a showdown next week. One for the ages. Sanji, Tockwitz. I understand EPJ is telling me, based on our punching the numbers, that game will be played at Sanji, Pep. You have Sanji going all, but Coach G, let's call him Coach G.
Coach G
says otherwise. He thinks that they can go into Tockwitz, ruin their perfect season, and really make a statement.
Yeah, I mean, the road to the CIF championship has to go through San Gorgonio, the top-rated team. So I'm looking at the brackets right now. If they beat San G, let's just say they'd have like Novi or Oak Hills in the semifinals. But first things first, that San G test is a huge one for Tockwitz. But they're playing well right now. I mean, they almost beat Citrus Hill in Mountain Pass League play. So
I was very impressed with the pass game. Usually, I think of them as more of a power run team, but they looked that way when I saw them earlier in the season against Mesa. The offense looked a lot more impressive this evening. Burroughs, not a great team, but a good team, and they made Burroughs, they tamed the Burroughs, shall we say, this evening.
Well, when I went on the B Varsity Live show with the great Luez Amistoy, he said, what will it take for Burroughs to beat Tockwitz? And I said, well, they would need Jeff Steinberg to come back to Ridgecrest and coach the Burroughs
Didn't happen.
and lead them to victory. No, Steinberg was busy leading his own team, Santiago to victory. So.
Yeah, tonight I usually take that Temecula to Marietta double dip. Tonight it was more of a Heritage Menifee dip, but nice to switch things up a little bit. But I'm guessing with that Chaparral Centennial Showdown in Temecula next week, I'll probably be back out there once again.
There's a very good chance. And did you see Coach Gregovich's big play signs on the Tockwitz side?
And tell us the bargain you guys got going.
Yeah, I told him I would pick his team to win against anybody, including San Gorgonio, if you put my face on one of those play signs. But what were some of the stuff that you saw? Did you see,
He had the MTV, what's that hit show they used to have on there? Hip Hop Beats or whatever, some 90.
Did he really?
Yeah, it was like some very obscure things. They had like some Disney characters. They were really mixing it up. So if they're throwing out random stuff like that, I think they can get a Pep Fernandez on there. Right?
We've got his face on here.
We have a Dave Zink bobblehead thing.
Do we really?
Yeah, it was made by the copy desk over there. Maybe they could throw a Dave Zink on there as well.
I would love to put Zink on the show if we can get that over here. I didn't know we had one of those.
It's in the secret hideaway. I think he tried to burn it or something.
He doesn't want it to see the light of day.
The head was bigger than this helmet.
He's got quite the noggin on him.
That's where he gets all that knowledge.
All right, thanks, Chris. All right, Angel, let's go through some of these scores real quick and wrap this show up. We'll go to the Eastern Division. There it is, San Gorgonio. Quarterback Tahir Rashid Mills had a monster game for the Spartans. They win 69-20 against Hesperia. Also in the Eastern Division, Tockwitz beating the Burroughs 35-14. So Coach Gregovich and the crew moving on. Norte Vista beating Silverado 38-16. It was tied 10-10 at the half. I leave, and Novi rolls them up big time. Oak Hills defeating Rialto 42-24. And also from tonight's first round of the playoffs, Citrus Hill defeating Ramona 61-7. And Moreno Valley over Carter 24-8. This was a game that was scoreless, 0-0 at halftime, but the Vikings defense coming up big time in this one. And I think one more score, Hemet and Serrano. And we were hoping for a huge Bulldogs upset in this one, but not tonight. 45-6, Serrano is a winner. All right, now we can go to the Eastern Division brackets and show you the matchups for this Friday in the second round of the playoffs. Angel, let's put those up. San Gorgonio taking on Tockwitz. We're very excited about that matchup. Norte Vista taking on Oak Hills. Citrus Hill taking on Apple Valley. And Moreno Valley getting that shot at Serrano. Now we can go to the East Valley Division scores one more time and show you what happened tonight. I'll get my brackets out as well so we can all follow along. Arrowhead Christian puts a scare in Harupa Hills, but the top-seeded Spartans win 55-41. And some of the other ones from tonight, Santa Clara beating Banning 39-24. 20 Santa Clara in Oxnard. So Banning had that long trip up there. Citrus Valley defeating the Fillmore Flashes 41-14. So the Blackhawks advance. Rim of the World defeating Linfield Christian 38-37 in overtime. We will have video highlights of this game on the Saturday show. So we're excited about getting those highlights on for you. And before we leave, let's show you the East Valley Division brackets now and show you the matchups. It will be Jurupa Hills and Shadow Hills, Santa Clara taking on Western Christian, Big Bear against Citrus Valley, and Rim of the World will get the St. Margaret's 29 Palms winner. That game will be played on Saturday, so Rim of the World will wait to see who they will play. So that was the first round of the high school football playoffs. We will do it all over again next Friday in the second round as we get a little bit closer to crowning CIF champions. For everyone here at HS Game Time, we thank you for watching, and please join us again on Saturday for the big Saturday Scouting Report. I'm Pep Fernandez, and we will see you next Friday.